Hello everyone, this is Anna. I'm the founder of Wonderland Publishing, the creator of the Oracle of the Magical Fairy Forest, and the co-founder of the Deck Creators Launchpad and Community, where we support other creators on this beautiful journey of bringing their vision for their own card deck to life. You can find us at deckcreators.com. And in today's video, I wanted to share my journey of launching this beautiful deck on Kickstarter. So I wanted to break down how I made almost 22,000 Canadian on Kickstarter while launching this deck. And yeah, there's quite a few things I want to go into. I have 7 things written down, 7 main points that I want to discuss. And it's going to be a lot of practical things, but also some of the more energetic and internal things, because I think those things are really important as well. And I'm actually going to start there. So the first thing is I really listened to my soul. For quite a long time already, I had known that there was something brewing inside of me and that there was a new card deck wanting to come to life through me. And for quite a few years, I had been supporting other creators on their journey of creating their card decks, and I'd kind of been putting my own projects on the back burner for quite some time, and I just started feeling this calling that kept getting stronger and stronger, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. And so in the fall of 2024, I finally decided to move forward with this project. Just one day on a medicine journey, I got a really clear vision for it, and I knew it was time to start working on it. I started writing out all the titles for the cards and the visions for the images, and I asked my illustrator, Anna Babic, if she would be willing to help me design this deck. So she illustrated the whole deck and created all the layouts and everything. And she said yes, and so that's how we started. And yeah, so I feel that was a really important beginning of this project. I just knew that this needed to happen. It was a really strong feeling that it was guided by my soul, something, bigger than just my small human self. And I think everything else then unfolded from there. Then the second thing I definitely want to mention, and this is something that I would recommend, to anyone who's wanting to successfully launch a deck on Kickstarter. We created a really high quality product that was really important to me, and I knew that was going to be easy to do with the help of my illustrator, Anna Babic. So we put a lot of love and effort into making this product the best it could be, and yeah, I think it turned out really beautifully, and the images really resonated with the people who felt drawn to this project and felt compelled to back it. And so yeah, definitely, if you're launching something on Kickstarter, putting effort and time into making the project the best quality it can be is going to be really important. It's going to be really helpful. Then I'd also say there are definitely certain kinds of themes that work better on Kickstarter. So if you have a very niche deck, then sometimes it may or may not be as easy. If you have a big audience to promote your deck to or to launch your Kickstarter to, that will make it easier as well. But there are certain types of products. I would say this is more of a mass market type of product. Of course, it's niche as well, but fairies and elementals have a pretty big following. So I think that made it quite a bit easier as well. Just wanted to mention that too. But you can really, succeed with anything as long as you're following your soul and, it's the right thing for you to do. Then the next thing is I started promoting this deck early. And this is something I really learned on my journey. I would recommend this, to anyone who's creating anything that they're going to launch, whether it's on Kickstarter or not. Start sharing early. And what I specifically did was I started building a following on Kickstarter directly about half a year before I launched the project officially. And so that gave me enough time to, constantly be visible. I would share the process on social media, which came really easily because when I'm really excited about something I'm creating, then it's easy to share. And I work with quite a lot of people who, might feel a little bit more shy about sharing, or they feel like they want to hide what they're creating until it's almost time to launch it. And there are certain fears around, what if somebody would come and steal it, or there might just be a shyness around sharing in general. But the sooner you start, you'll have to do it anyway at some point, but the sooner you start building an audience, you start creating interest around your product, and that can only be a good thing once you launch. And again, especially on Kickstarter, you basically want to be prepared to take off quickly if you can. So ideally, you want to get funded within the first day or two. That will really help to give you the boost you need to keep going. And, there are a lot of different ways people launch decks on Kickstarter, and some decks get funded just towards the end. But ideally, you want to get funded early, and then you just build more and more momentum. And so I got funded within, I think, 19 hours. And then we ended the launch with, I think, around 245% funded. So my goal was 8,888 Canadian dollars, and I made almost 22,000 when the launch ended. One thing I want to throw in here real quick too is, so that number does include the shipping fees I collected. There are different ways of doing this on Kickstarter. A lot of creators collect the shipping fees right before they ship the deck. They don't collect the fees through the campaign or during the campaign. There are pros and cons for that. I feel like maybe next time I'll try collecting the shipping fees afterwards. It did make it easier for me. I just wanted to keep it simple, and and then you only have to collect the fees once. There's always a chance of transactions not going through. So if you have 2 transactions, that will potentially raise the amount of transactions that don't end up going through. But the the downside was that the shipping fees went up a little bit after the campaign, so I had to technically cover a little bit more than I expected, although it evened out in the end. Just with the whole tariff situation last year, it was really, a lot of things really unpredictable. So my international shipping fees were higher than expected, but then I also had a solution for fulfilling my orders from US backers from within the US, which wasn't the original plan, and that helped me keep those costs down a little bit. So in the end, it all worked out. But next time I would maybe consider doing that a little bit differently. But let's move on to the next thing. So number 4 is I optimized my Kickstarter page for conversions, and I definitely had a lot of help with that. I spent quite a bit of time analyzing other Kickstarters and looking at successful Kickstarters, and looking at how they had set up their campaign and their pages, how everything was laid out, what the information was on there that they included, and all of that. And then I also got a lot of help from my co-founder Heath Armstrong, and also his business partner Jason Berwick. We're all co-founders of the Deck Creators Launchpad, and they had successfully done 4 Kickstarters before, and they raised over $200,000 with all their decks on Kickstarter. So they gave me a lot of really great advice. They looked at my Kickstarter page before I launched, and so I had time to optimize everything. And I also want to say is I didn't follow all the rules. Like certain things were more like just hunches or like personal things that were important to me, and so I really wanted to make it feel like it was reflecting kind of my soul and my essence and my personality as well. I wasn't too attached to that, but there were just certain things that I felt I wanted to do maybe a little differently from how other people do it, and that ended up working out really well. I don't want to go into too much detail about all the things, but there are definitely some things. If you go and look at successful campaigns let's say especially ones that launched similar decks to yours, then that's a good place to start. Okay, so the next thing is having the right product combinations and add-ons. So I didn't just launch the deck, but I had quite a few add-ons, and that ended up working out really well for me because I was also in the process of launching a whole online store. So it was also a way to fund some of those products along the way. And so I had the deck and then the companion journal. Unfortunately, I don't have it here with me right now, but actually one of my most popular tiers was the deck and journal bundle. I'd say almost half of all backers got the bundle, so they got the deck and the journal, and that really helped. And that, yeah, it converted really well, and it was an easy way to, get a lot of momentum right in the beginning. And then I had other things like the magical forest blanket that I'm sitting on. I didn't sell as many of those, but this was kind of a higher cost product. It's also more expensive to produce. And one thing I would say is, if you have a lot of products, it does make things more complex. And in the future, I might do things a little bit differently or keep it a little bit more simple. But I did get quite a few backers for this blanket as well, or, the packages that included the blanket and other things as well. So add-ons are definitely an important thing as well. So you do have different tiers, basically packages of things. They're pre-packaged for backers to choose from, but you can also include add-ons, so optional add-ons that they can add after they've chosen the tier. And I wasn't actually sure whether I was going to do that until right before the campaign. I think the day before the campaign, I asked Heath about it, and he told me, yeah, definitely do it. Like, he looked at their stats and said, well, you definitely miss out on some backers and you'll leave some money on the table if you don't have add-ons. And I'm really glad I listened. So I think the day before I launched the campaign, I added a bunch of add-ons, and even things that had been sitting here in my inventory for years and weren't really selling that well. And I thought, oh, maybe, nobody's going to want that. I actually sold a significant amount of those products as well, which was awesome. So just a reminder that often when something doesn't sell, it's not necessarily because it's a bad product or nobody wants it, but you just need to get it in front of the right people, especially new people as well, if it's been around for quite some time. And yeah, just a side note here. The next thing I think that's also really important was what I did on launch day. So I did a few things to really help increase conversions on launch day to get as many eyes as possible on the campaign. So, I had a certain following. I had the pre-launch list of people who had already subscribed to the campaign. I think I had exactly 200 subscribers there. I had an email list as well. I have a social media following and so on. But I would say, I'm not the one with the biggest email list or the biggest social media following. I do have a pretty engaged following, which helps. But yeah, there are definitely other things that also helped. So what I did on launch day, first of all, I hosted a launch event, which I promoted probably about a week before the actual launch. So I got another bunch of people on my list there. I didn't have a lot of people showing up live. I think it was maybe about 15 or 20 people who showed up live, but it was enough to, really build some momentum there. I had a few people on the call who immediately backed the project as soon as the Kickstarter campaign launched. But more than that, it was, just for moral support as well. And just energetically, it felt really supportive. And you get into this energy of celebration. And it was just a really great experience. We did that inside the deck creators community, but I, brought in people from the outside as well. And yeah, so that was really awesome. And it was just a really beautiful way to celebrate the launch and get my first few backers. And as soon as I hit the live button, I immediately had backers. I could just watch, the uptick of backers It happened really quickly. And then, of course, Kickstarter sent out the launch notification email as soon as I hit the live button, and I got a lot of backers pretty much immediately from there as well. So I would say the majority of my backers came through Kickstarter, so from the Kickstarter platform. And it's not always going to be like that. You definitely do have to bring your own audience as well, and people from the outside to kind of get that momentum going. But when Kickstarter sees that, you know, you're doing that work and people are backing the deck, they'll promote directly to their followers as well. And so another thing I did to increase conversions on launch day, and that's something a lot of Kickstarter creators do. So I had some early bird offers, highly recommended, give people an incentive to back your deck now rather than later. So I had one or two, I think, early bird offers. Yes, I had the deck only early bird, and then the deck and journal bundle, also early bird pricing basically. And then I had a really limited offer basically that wasn't part of the tiers, but I just had that on the Kickstarter page, that basically everyone who backs on the first day got a free mini reading with the deck from me. And I don't know how much that helped, but it definitely seemed to help. I ended up doing, I think, almost 70 mini readings after shipping all the decks, so last fall. I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to do that again. I do think it probably helped a little bit to boost backers on day one, but it was also a lot of work. So after, you know, all the shipping, and it's pretty time consuming. Yeah, I'll feel into whether or not I'm going to do that again next time. But yeah, I think it did help. The last thing I wanted to share was, and that's something I really couldn't have planned for, and I think it kind of ties back into the very first thing that I mentioned, you know, so really following a path that felt guided by my soul, that felt really supported. I really felt like the whole time when I was working on this project, I just knew that this was meant to be, that this is going to come to life. It felt really easy, and it was like, you know, something bigger than myself was creating that through me. And I just got a lot of unexpected support through that as well. So I had other people with, sometimes actually really big audiences share the campaign for me as well. And I think about 40% of my backers came from other people's audiences, 40 or maybe a little bit more than that even. So that was big. And that was something that I didn't really consciously work towards. This is something that you can leverage, you know, if you kind of think about that early in the process and while you start getting ready for your campaign. Maybe next time I would do that a little bit more intentionally. But in my case, it just happened and it made a really big difference. Again, I think it also gave me a really big boost on day one, and then a few more pushes along the way. And I'm really grateful. I love how this deck turned out. I'm really happy it's out there making a difference in people's lives, and I'm getting a lot of really great feedback from people who love working with the deck. I'm just gonna maybe share a few cards. There are other videos on my channels where you can see all the cards and a complete flip through of the deck. This is the Kickstarter version with the sparkly gold edges. It's still available at this point. It's not sold out yet. And yeah, just a few more cards here. Yeah, so I'm just getting a lot of really great feedback from people who tell me that it's their favorite deck, that, you know, they've never connected with any deck in the same way before and things like that. So hearing that kind of feedback really warms my heart, and it just makes everything worth it. But the whole journey was worth it. I really loved creating this deck, and I also know it's not going to be the last one. We are working on a new project right now. I'm not going to share too much about that just yet, but there will be more coming. And I think that's it for now. I just wanted to invite you once again, if you are on the journey of making your own card deck, or you have a dream of bringing a vision for your own card deck to life, then I would love for you to come into our Deck Creators Launchpad and community at deckcreators.com. That's where we support other creators on their journey of bringing their decks to life. Oh yeah, and this week we're actually doing a live call where we analyze Kickstarter campaigns. So if this is something that you're interested in, you definitely want to be there. We host live calls regularly for our Launchpad and Lifetime members. You can go to deckcreators.com. You'll find all the information there. You can reach out to us if you have any questions. And I can't wait to see you there. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll be back with more soon.